Welcome to The PA is In, the show created by PAs for PAs, where codependency with your supervising physician is a thing of the past, optimal team practice is the future, and physician associate has taken the place of physician assistant as the professional title of choice. I'm Tracy Bingaman, and I'm obsessed with redefining what success as a PA looks like and what it feels like. Here you'll find the mindset shifts, systems, and processes I use to escape healthcare burnout and integrate my work into my life. Work-life balance is a myth, and an integrated life where you thrive professionally, not a balancing act, is the goal here. My mission is to help you to grow into a unicorn PA who loves their job, has abundant energy, time to spare, and work-optional financial freedom. The PA is in. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of The PA is In. This episode is part of a series all about financial basics. We're going back to basics when it comes to money, finances, cash flow, investing, all of these things that make up our financial lives. We're going to unpack them one by one and give you just a really basic idea, things that you should know, terms that you should understand, place that you can start in terms of understanding, creating margin in your life when it comes to money. Sarah, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back. I'm excited.
So tell us who you are and what you do, both inside of work and outside of work.
So my name's Sarah. I am a mom to two little boys. I have right now a 4-year-old and an almost 2-year-old. I'm married. My husband's a firefighter. And I am an ICU PA. I work in an adult ICU. I've been a PA for 11 years now, I think. And I've worked at the same hospital my whole career. I started as a hospital's PA and then went into critical care. And after my first son was born, I went part-time. And I love it. It's a great balance between getting to be a PA and getting to be home with my kids and my family. I work only nights. I work 2 nights a week, which we've talked about before, which is kind of crazy. But it works for us for now. And I'm also a virtual assistant. I am your virtual assistant.
Not just any virtual assistant. You are the virtual assistant. Yes.
That's right. So I became a PA after my first son was, or a VA. I became a VA after my first son was born. It fell in my lap, but it was a perfect thing that I was looking for, of something I could do from home on my own time. So I have my own small business doing that and supporting other businesses and what they do, like you, and the PA is in.
Me. So everyone listening is like, okay, Sarah is a PA and a VA. They know what a PA is because the show is The PA is In, and I'm presuming they are a provider in healthcare or even a PA. Tell us what a virtual assistant does. So what does that entail when you are working for me? What tasks are you doing?
So there's a variety of what virtual assistants can do. So me specifically, and what I like to do is basically administrative support. So with you, and I have a couple other clients working on the email in basket, and reading through emails, replying to emails, organizing your calendar, setting things up with the podcast, with reaching out to guests and getting them scheduled, following up emails with them, helping get the podcast published, and all the things that we do with that, with YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and the blog, and kind of helping with all those back end type things and the administrative support to kind of keep the business functioning and running, while you can focus on the fun things like, content creation and being creative and the new directions you want to go in.
Dreading one more shift, one more day, seeing one more patient? What if that dread isn't simply anxiety and fear, but rather the bubbling up of underlying resentment that you are underpaid, disrespected, marginalized, overwhelmed, and your schedule, quite frankly, sucks? I'm a clinician negotiation coach, and I help providers like you to land the biggest raises of their career. It's super simple. Here's how it works. You book your 1-hour call in which we discuss your current compensation, what your specific goals are, and create a personalized plan. You'll hang out with a strategic plan for how to land a bigger paycheck, a better schedule, and blocked admin time. Life is too short to constantly feel that resentment, to be insulted by your pay, and to continue to have that crappy schedule. A negotiation consultation will help you to understand your value, feel confident about the conversations you need to have, and have the gumption to finally earn what you are worth. I have dedicated slots on my calendar for negotiation calls each week. Would you like one of those calls to be yours? The link in the show notes is the fastest way to get that booked. Yeah. So what inspired you to do this? So did you become a VA before you went part-time? Did you go part-time and then you were looking for something else to do during nap time? What did that look like?
Mm-hmm. I became a VA after I went part-time. So I knew for a long time that I wanted to go part-time in my career when I became a mom. My mom worked part-time until I was in high school. So I kind of always saw that with her, was that she still worked and did her career, but on evenings and every other weekend, and was home with us during the week though, and would come to our school activities and do all the things. And I loved seeing that, and I wanted to do that. So when my husband and I were dating, or early in our dating, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to have kids and I want to be part-time. We're like, okay, great. So I don't know, we talked about that early on. And he's a firefighter and does shift work. I do shift work in the ICU. So early on, we talked about having, kind of this sort of setup where one of us is always home with the kids because we can do that with our shifts. And so when we got to the point of, okay, we're thinking about getting pregnant, we want to have a baby, we got pregnant, and okay, it's real, it's happening. And I was talking with my boss about when I want to go part-time, when's the due date, and kind of planning that out. And in planning that out, we, obviously talked about the budget and money and can we do this financially? And we've been planning for this for a long time. So we knew it was possible. And you and I, and we'll get into some of this, we're money nerds, and I love a good spreadsheet. So I'd been planning this for a long time that we could do it financially, me being part-time. Now that being said, we could still do it, but we wouldn't have a lot of buffer, a lot of extra. So I was looking for something that I could do during nap time when the baby was sleeping, something from home or wouldn't have to leave the house because I was probably going to be home alone a lot of the time where my husband was working. And so I was looking for something to do part-time from home. I had no idea what that was. Can I sell something on Etsy? I am not an Etsy type of a person. So I was like, I was just scouring the internet. What can I do? What are little things? Maybe something with proofreading. I like doing that kind of thing. And this fell in my lap. I was part of an online community run by this woman who the community was for moms, and teaching them about money management and investing, and teaching your kids about money and having positive money affirmations, all that type of thing. She was an ex hedge fund investor who left the hedge fund world and really wanted to teach real people and moms how you can do this yourself. It's really not that hard. So that was the community. And I was really active in the community. And she reached out to me one day and said, hey, my VA is leaving and I need a new one. Do you want to be my VA? I was like, I have no idea what a VA does. I don't know. I guess this sounds like, exactly. I did a lot of Googling. I was like, and it sounds like it's good. It sounds like it's meeting the criteria if I'm doing it from home, on my own time, when the baby's sleeping, all those types of things. And she's like, you're a PA. PAs can do anything. You could absolutely do this. It's going to be no problem. And so that's what I started learning with her, of doing same things, email management, calendar management. She had a podcast at the time, so helping organize those types of things, helping run the Facebook group, all those types of VA things. So that's how I got started. And then I loved it. I just loved using a different type of my brain than my PA brain, and not as high stress as working in the ICU. So that was fun, having something a little more relaxing. And so that's how I became a VA and decided, I want to get a couple more clients and grow it a little bit. And here we are today.
Yeah. Without sharing too much in terms of specific income numbers, can you give us an idea of how much time you spend per week or per month doing your virtual assisting, and also how it compares to your PA salary? So are we talking I'm making a tiny, tiny fraction? Is it a decent amount? And how much time are you spending doing it?
Time-wise, It can vary. It depends on, what my different clients are doing. Is there a big project coming up, or is someone going to run an online summit? Like, that's a lot more time. In general, I would say it's probably anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week, maybe like 10 to 15 hours a week, probably. It just kind of depends on what's going on. That's probably average. And like I said, it can be on whatever times that I want. And some VAs, whatever their client business structure is, might say, hey, I really need you between the hours of 9 and 3 or a certain time. My clients, and I make it clear too when I start working with someone, is I might be working from midnight to 2 a.m. because that's just my life schedule right now. And it's because of the things I do, it doesn't really matter time-wise so much. So probably about, 10 to 15 hours a week, probably. And then money-wise, so much less being a VA than a PA, thankfully, and with the help of you as well. I'm very well compensated as a PA, even being part-time. But I do get a night shift differential too. I mean, that's always helpful. But I make probably 10% as a VA what I make as a PA. So it's not a lot, but it's nice to have just, that. And that's what I was looking for too, is just something like, I don't need to match my PA salary. I don't need to meet a very certain, like I have to make this much. It's sort of just, a little buffer, a little extra, but probably about 10%.
I love that realistic view. I feel on the internet, there are so many people who are like, I started a business and 6 minutes later, I retired my spouse from their 9 to 5 and I quit and we're all retired and I'm just making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, which is amazing if it's true and incredible for them. But a much more realistic look at entrepreneurship is, hey, I have found a way to diversify my income. I found a way to supplement what I'm doing on my own time, on my own terms. And it's a small part. And you could make it more. I mean, you could do 60 hours a week, but you don't want to do 60 hours a week. You want to do less. And also, there's some benefit to engaging your brain in a way that's different. What you do for me is extremely different than what you do when you're working in the ICU. To anyone listening who has ever sent an email inquiring about coaching or a product or question about a link from something on our website, almost certainly Sarah is the one who got back to you. Or she came to me and said, hey, what do you want to say to this person? And I said 2 sentences to her and she made it sound much more thought out and much more put together in terms of the way that we're communicating to customers and the way that guests are hearing from us. So I'm so thankful for you and for your services. The other thing I wanted to point out when you talked about going from full-time to part-time, about adjusting, your work schedule in terms of your primary professional job, is that you guys put a lot of thought and a lot of preparation into doing that. We miss the mark on that often. I do this a lot. We think of something that we want and then we say like, we're going to do it, but we don't think about, can we do it financially? What's the plan? How much margin are we going to have? What does the budget look like? So is that something you've always been inclined to do in terms of money and knowing what you were doing from a budgeting, financial planning standpoint?
I think so, kind of. I've always been type A, and I'm a planner, and I like to have a plan and a schedule. 50 years in advance sounds good. I like to know what's coming next and next and next and next. So in that sense, yes. From a money perspective, I've always been interested in money and just sort of like saving, investing, like how does this work? My parents were great about teaching me good money management and money skills from an early age. They were good examples of they never had any kind of debt except their mortgage. They always paid off credit cards in full every month and teaching me those types of things. So that was great to have that as a foundation that I didn't even know at the time, was a great foundation. And even my grandparents, my grandparents who taught like my dad and then passed that on of the same thing of having this great money management. But I remember talking to my grandfather once when I was probably in high school, I guess, and just kind of looking back on his life. And my grandparents have traveled the world. They've been to every continent. They've done all kinds of great things. And, I asked him, how, like, this is what I want to be. Like, you're very financially secure from what I can see. I mean, they live in in a regular modest home and like but they do all the like these exciting fun things, and they're there with their family and doing all the things. And so like this is what I want. Like, how do you do this? Like, what, when I get a job, what am I supposed to do with my paycheck? And having him and my dad talk to me about things of like, well, depending what your job is, you might have a 401k, and here's how to invest in that, and there's something called an IRA, and here's how much money you can put into that, and a little bit about stocks and bonds, and kind of very basic things, but it was a good foundation, to the point of, with me being interested in money, some of it is from a deprivation mindset, which I don't even know where that comes from. I mean, we've always been very secure and very stable financially, like a regular middle class family. But I always been like, do we have enough? Do I have enough? Am I going to run out of money somehow? So some of it, I need to backtrack on some of that somehow, but I've always definitely been a saver, not a spender, has been my mindset around money.
PAs, you're dedicated to improving the lives and health of your patients for a brighter future. But what about your future? Who's dedicated to helping you with your financial health so that you can live the future you dream of? Meet Caleb Pepperday, certified financial planner and owner of Advanced Practice Planning. Caleb is the husband of a PAC himself and has seen firsthand the challenges PAs face when it comes to finances. This fueled his mission to ensure that physician assistants get the respect, guidance, and treatment they deserve to build the future they want. Don't risk facing retirement with too little in your accounts or giving up on your dreams for the future, and work with an advisor who understands the unique challenges of being a PA. Gain insights into what your retirement could look like with access to the proper guidance. As a listener of and a featured guest on this podcast, Caleb's made available a free guide to help you prepare for retirement. Check out the link in the show notes to get your free guide and learn more about how Advanced Practice Planning can help secure your financial future. We'll have to do an episode on abundance versus scarcity mentality and maybe give the listeners some tips on how to have an abundance mentality. But I think you and I are very similar in terms of sometimes when you come from a family that talks about money in terms of don't spend it, save and invest it, it makes you feel like there's not enough, because being careful with money means that you're saying, hey, we're going to do this and not do that. And it does lead to this mindset of, well, we must not have enough to do both if we're choosing between them, which may be true, but that I do think lends itself to this feeling of, well, we'll never quite have enough. We'll never quite have enough saved. We'll never quite have enough invested, because you could always have more, right? Like the goal could endlessly be moved further down in terms of how much you want to have at retirement, how much you want to have in that emergency fund. So yeah, we'll do an episode for sure on the mindset around abundance and money. So this actually kicks off. This is going to be our welcome episode to a Back to Basics series on finances. We're going to talk about some of these basic things that people have questions about, really going into the nuts and bolts of what do we need to be doing in order to become more financially independent? What are things we can do every day? Really solid understanding of things like insurance and investing and some of these basics. So Sarah, tell us, where did the majority of your knowledge come from? Was it from these conversations with your dad and grandfather? Or do you have a bookshelf of books on finances? Where are you coming from?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, those conversations when I was young and as a young adult definitely kind of set the stage and was a great foundation. And then when I graduated PA school and bought my own house, I bought a townhouse, and I lived on my own for the first time ever. I was paying my own mortgage and all my own bills and doing all of my own things. I was like, okay, now I'm a real adult. Like, how do I really implement all of these things that I've kind of been taught and was learning? And what do I do? Like, what is next? And so next for me, of course, was I went to the library and went to the finance section and like, okay, here's the books. What do I do? Like, what should I read here? What should I do? And being a good millennial, I was in a bunch of Facebook groups as well about money and things. And so I ended up finding Dave Ramsey, Total Money Makeover, and read through that book. And I think that, Dave Ramsey has a lot of great points. He's really good for people who are in debt and how to get out of debt. But that wasn't my situation, thankfully, because of, how my parents had set us up, and they were able, I didn't have any school loans, which was a fantastic gift from them that they paid for our college. So with for those who are not familiar, Dave Ramsey has 7 steps in the Total Money Makeover, starting it's, with saving, getting out of debt, having an emergency fund, what are the other things? Investing, retirement, college savings for your kids, paying off your mortgage. And then step 7 is just, living like no one else, like, just living and giving and having wealth. So that's steps 1 through 7. So when I bought the book, read it, did all the things, okay, where am I on the list here? I am at step number 6. I'm on 6 out of 7. Number 6 is pay off your mortgage, because I didn't have any kids. There was no, college savings there. So step number 6, pay off your mortgage. Step 7 is, ta-da, you reached the summit. So I'm like, okay, well, I feel like there's got to be more than, like, I feel like I've arrived. Or just keep paying off your mortgage now at this point. Like, I feel like there's got to be something more, like something else, to just keep doing this until the mortgage is paid off, and then that's it. Like, it just seemed like, okay, well, there's got to be something else. What is next after that? Like something in between here. So in my, just searching and being in this realm, I found Choose FI, which I highly, highly, highly recommend to everyone. Choose FI is focused on, it stands FI is for financial independence. So part of the FIRE movement with financial independence, retire early. And their focus really is on the financial independence part, because if you are financially independent, then you have money freedom, you have time freedom. You can make choices based on what you value, what's important to you, not based on, hey, we only have this much money, or I've got to work 60 hours a week. I don't have the time to do that, So that's really what their focus is on, the financial independence side. And the retire early can look kind of whatever it looks like for you, whether that means truly retiring, starting your own business, working part-time, whatever that means. So Choose FI taught me a lot. They have a podcast, which is like 600 episodes deep at this point. They have a website with tons of resources. They have their own, a couple different programs that you can go through, and they have free programs where you can learn about just basics of, paying off your debt, how to invest, what do you invest in. And so that's where a lot of this came from. And then from Choose FI, I found all kinds of other people, in that money realm. That's where I found the woman that I worked for, the hedge fund manager. I found her through that way. Tons of other resources in this realm kind of came from them. And so they were a great starting point for me. I recommend that to everyone. And so where Choose FI got their information from is from other investors, in the investing space. And that's, those are the experts that they would bring on and talk about, and that's kind of their foundation. And then they've built from there. And I think at this point, a lot of their focus is on, like, what do you value? Like, how do you create a life that you love based on your values and what's important to you, not based on, I need to work this many hours, I need to make this much money, like I need to be able to, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. How do you get out of that and kind of move into the next step of a life that you love and want to be part of, you're not trying to get out of?
Yeah. Such a great example of saying, hey, I see something that I am interested in, that I see as a necessity in terms of thriving financially, and becoming a student of that thing. I'm sure there's things that now that are just sort of part of your walking around knowledge that back then you didn't yet. And now you're someone that I feel very financially sound in my knowledge. And when we have conversations about this, I'm always impressed by the depth and breadth of your knowledge about finances. So when I thought about doing this series on back to basics of finances, I was like, Sarah has to come on. Like, we have to do this in terms of, you really break things down in a way that's super easy to understand. And we're really going to hit the high points of some of the basics to sort of have everyone know what they need to do in order to get their financial house in order. So to listeners, if you are thinking, ooh, a back to basics of money series is coming, send us your questions and topics. If there is something that you have always wondered how it works or what it means, we'll probably do a Q&A episode. But also, if there's a specific topic that we think is worthy of a deep dive, you will see these back to basics episodes sprinkled throughout the next several months. So send us an email, themoneypa@gmail.com. I won't check it, but Sarah will. And she will put it in the list of things that we will talk about on future episodes. If you are curious to learn more about Sarah's shift work, night shift, part-time ICU with a firefighter husband, spouse, and how they deal with overnight shifts and 24 hours for her husband. Head on back and listen to episode 228. That is an in-depth discussion about full-time, part-time, about what it's like to work in the ICU, about how she loves working nights, which I think is absolutely bananas. So take a listen to that episode and stay tuned for future Back to Basics financial episodes. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to start this off.
Finances can be one of these topics that is just fraught with potential emotions, and that sometimes we don't feel that comfortable talking about money to the people in our lives. So I hope that this series of episodes serves as a guidepost for you and that you learn something to take back to your own management of your personal finances that puts you just 1% more in the direction of your money goals. Thank you, as always, for tuning in to another episode of The PA is In. That's all for today. This PA is out. Congratulations, you've just joined an awesome club. By listening to a full episode of The PA is In, you are officially on the Unicorn PA team. Welcome aboard. What most team members do is they subscribe to the podcast because that allows them to automatically get the latest episode of the show. The life of your dreams exists on the other side of taking action. Keep making small shifts and keep getting better. Your life will improve, your career will soar, and you will have the confidence you need to create your own success. I will see you in the next episode. This PA is out.